LangChain is a Python framework used to work with large language models, or LLMs, in a structured way. This makes connecting to models, creating chains, and building applications easier and more modular. Google Colab is a free cloud-based Python notebook environment that runs in your browser. You don't need to install Python, set up a development environment, or configure hardware on your local machine. Colab provides a Jupyter-style notebook interface where you can write code, see results immediately, and save your work to Google Drive. There are two main ways to run LLMs. The first is hosted API models like Azure OpenAI, Anthropic, and the second is local or self-hosted models like Llama, LM Studio, or your own interface server. Cloud-based models are easier for beginners because you don't need special hardware or model downloads. They work on any machine with internet access and reflect the real-world API-based workflows used in production systems. Cloud providers handle most infrastructure scaling, but you'll still be constrained by quotas and rate limits. You may need to manage retries and backoff, especially if your usage exceeds the provider's set limits. Local tools give you more control and privacy, as everything runs on your device. But they often require strong hardware and can involve complex setup, which may be challenging for beginners. So let's begin with the code. The first step is to install LangChain and the required extension. Here in FirstL, this installs the core LangChain framework you build on. Next is LangChain OpenAI. This adds the integration package that lets LangChain work with OpenAI and Azure OpenAI models. Next is LangChain OpenAI. This adds the integration package that lets LangChain work with OpenAI and Azure OpenAI models. Here, we install community extensions and helper modules often used in LangChain projects, which is LangChain Community. Now, after installing this, we need to verify the installation. So in the next cell, we check that everything is installed correctly. This confirms LangChain is available and prints the installed version. If this raises no error, installation is successful. In the next step, we need to set Azure credentials. We provide credentials so your code can talk to Azure OpenAI. We need the OS module so we can set environment variables from Python. Next, we need to set the Azure OpenAI API key. So you have to give the key that comes from the Azure portal after you create an Azure OpenAI resource and deployment. This is the endpoint URL for your OpenAI service on Azure. You can copy this from the Azure portal. We need to provide the deployment name that you chose when creating a model deployment in Azure. Next, Azure OpenAI requires an API version string to work with the REST API. After these are set, your Colab environment knows how to authenticate and where to send requests. Next, as a final step, we have to load the Azure model class. Now, import a class you will use to call the model. Here in this cell, this imports a class that lets LangChain make calls to the Azure OpenAI chat API. The Azure deployment parameter you set earlier will be used when creating a model instance. If this import runs without any errors, your setup is correct. So now you have installed LangChain and its extensions. We have confirmed the installation. Then we set the Azure OpenAI credentials and endpoint. Then we loaded the correct Azure Chat OpenAI class. Now you have successfully set up LangChain in Google Colab and connected it with Azure OpenAI using the correct configuration and model class. Now your environment is ready to make real API calls and build AI applications like chatbots, text generation, embeddings, and retrieval systems.
If you enjoyed this video, you can enroll in Great Learning Academy for free. Choose from hundreds of courses across multiple domains and earn a certificate of completion along the way. And if you want to take it a step further, you can try Great Learning Academy Pro Plus with a free trial. It provides access to additional premium courses with more advanced content from distinguished faculty, along with features like guided projects, a resume builder, and mock interviews to make your learning journey even richer. Link is in the description.